Apple just revealed its smartest Siri ever, able to read messages, sort photos, understand intent, and take action across apps. Slow push-in on sleek iPhone screen, glowing with AI interface, futuristic Apple Store background blurred, smooth dolly transition into close-up of glowing Siri icon, cinematic tech lighting, ultra-detailed, documentary style. Nearly every iPhone owner worldwide gets access to this breakthrough assistant, except for one entire continent, raising urgent questions. Wide aerial drone shot of world map, glowing with connected devices, smooth transition zooming toward darkened Europe outline, cinematic blue lighting, highly detailed, documentary style. The reason behind this exclusion reveals deep tension between powerful technology giants and determined European regulators shaping digital policy. Tracking shot through modern European government building hallway. Smooth transition to glass conference room with regulators in discussion. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. For years, Siri struggled embarrassingly with simple follow-up questions, while rival chatbots handled complex multi-step conversations easily. Close up on frustrated user talking to phone in cafe. Smooth transition to split screen showing advanced chatbot interface responding fluidly. Cinematic realistic lighting, documentary style. This new smarter Siri, reportedly powered by Google's AI technology, finally promised to close that long-standing gap completely. Macro shot of circuit board glowing with Google and Apple logos intertwined. Smooth transition to animated neural network visualization pulsing. Cinematic text style, highly detailed. It could dig through your inbox, search entire photo libraries, and genuinely understand the intent behind spoken commands. Overshoulder shot of person scrolling email inbox on iPhone. Smooth transition to photo gallery flipping. Rapidly with AI highlights. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. The assistant could carry out actions inside other apps automatically, completing tasks without requiring constant manual user input. Close-up of phone screen apps opening automatically in sequence. Smooth transition to hands resting calmly while phone continues working. Cinematic tech lighting, documentary style. Except if you live in the European Union, where none of these powerful new features are currently available. Slow pan across busy European city street. People checking phones. Smooth transition to phone screen, displaying a grayed-out unavailable feature notice. Cinematic moody lighting, documentary style. The blame falls on legislation called the Digital Markets Act, commonly known simply as the DMA, governing big tech. Close-up of official European Union legal document with DMA title. Smooth transition to gavel and EU flag in dim courtroom lighting. Cinematic documentary style. This law has created a fascinating standoff between one of the world's most powerful companies and its regulators. Split, screen tracking shot. One side Apple headquarters glass building. Smooth transition, merging into European Commission building exterior. Cinematic dramatic lighting, documentary style. The DMA, active for a couple of years now, is fundamentally competition law, targeting the largest technology platforms. Tracking shot through European Parliament chamber. Smooth transition zooming onto a large screen, displaying the DMA logo beside tech company icons. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. Big tech companies bundle products together, reinforcing dominance across markets while locking users deeply into their ecosystems. Animated diagram of interconnected app icons forming a tight, glowing web. Smooth transition to a user trapped scrolling endlessly through one ecosystem. Cinematic text style, detailed. This bundling brings convenience for users, but makes it nearly impossible for new competitors to ever break through. Wide shot of a small startup office with few employees. Smooth transition contrasting a massive tech corporate campus skyline. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. So the DMA imposes heavy compliance obligations specifically on so-called gatekeepers. A list that clearly includes Apple's iOS platform. Close-up of an official gatekeeper list document with the Apple logo highlighted. Smooth transition to an iPhone surrounded by glowing regulatory icons. Cinematic detailed lighting, documentary style. One early DMA consequence forced Apple to allow third-party app stores onto iPhones, despite strong security warnings. Animated iPhone screen, showing new alternative App Store icons appearing. Smooth transition to a security shield icon flickering, with warning, cinematic tech lighting, documentary style. Apple attempted to soften this blow by charging developers steep fees for using these new alternative app stores. Close-up of an invoice document with high fee numbers highlighted, smooth transition to a developer at a desk looking frustrated at a laptop screen, cinematic lighting, documentary style. Regulators rejected this approach, and Apple was ultimately fined, roughly €500 million for inadequate DMA compliance. Slow zoom on a courtroom gavel, striking a desk smooth transition to large Euro currency figures projected on a screen. Cinematic, dramatic lighting, documentary style. Suffice to say, Apple and the DMA have not exactly enjoyed a friendly relationship from the very start. Tense handshake between two silhouetted business figures under harsh lighting, smooth transition to both figures turning away from each other, cinematic moody style. This tension resurfaced in 2024 when Apple introduced its new feature called Apple Intelligence to global users everywhere. Reveal shot of an Apple keynote stage with the Apple Intelligence logo lighting up the screen. Smooth transition to a global map highlighting launch regions. Cinematic style. Detailed. Apple held this feature back from European users specifically, citing concerns directly related to DMA interoperability requirements. Close-up of a European map dimming, while the rest of the world glows bright. Smooth transition to an Apple executive reviewing documents at a desk, cinematic lighting, documentary style. The company worried that interoperability rules could weaken product integrity, threatening user privacy and security in serious ways. Macro shot of a padlock icon over a smartphone glowing red with warning. Smooth transition to a data stream visualization being intercepted. Cinematic tech lighting, detailed. Eventually, Apple Intelligence did reach the European Union anyway, just significantly later than its rollout everywhere else. Time-lapse of calendar pages flipping rapidly. Smooth transition to a European map, finally lighting up with feature activation, cinematic style, highly detailed. Now with Siri AI, the very same pattern repeats. Apple again blaming DMA interoperability rules as the core obstacle. Slow dolly shot of an Apple boardroom table with executives discussing. Smooth transition to the European Commission logo, appearing on a large screen, cinematic lighting, documentary style. Apple frames this entirely as a forced choice between expanding functionality and properly protecting sensitive user data. Split screen, showing glowing feature icons versus a locked privacy shield icon. Smooth transition, merging into a single conflicted device interface. Cinematic text style, detailed. According to Apple, regulators interpret the DMA so broadly that any virtual assistant could access private user information. Close-up of a phone screen displaying private messages. Smooth transition to multiple AI assistant icons surrounding the device. Cinematic tense lighting, documentary style. Apple claims this access would include direct control over other installed apps, without sufficient required safeguards in place. Animated diagram showing one central AI icon extending tendrils into surrounding app icons. Smooth transition to a warning symbol flashing, cinematic text style. Apple goes further, alleging regulators expect near unrestricted device access for AI systems acting independently without user oversight. Macro shot of a robotic hand silently operating a smartphone alone on a table. Smooth transition to an empty chair where a user should be sitting. Cinematic eerie lighting, documentary style. This alleged access covers reading messages, sending communications, making purchases, accessing files, and triggering actions across different apps. Rapid montage of message bubbles, payment icons, and folder icons flashing across a screen. Smooth transition into a single glowing AI core. Cinematic detailed lighting, documentary style. The European Commission tells a noticeably different story about why Siri AI remains unavailable across the European Union. Slow push-in. On a European Commission press briefing podium, with microphones, smooth transition to journalists writing notes attentively, cinematic documentary lighting, highly detailed. A spokesperson addressed this directly at a press briefing, delivering a remarkably blunt message straight from Brussels officials. Close-up of a spokesperson speaking firmly at a podium. Smooth transition to camera flashes, from press photographers capturing the moment. Cinematic, dramatic, lighting, documentary style. The decision to withhold Siri AI belongs entirely to Apple, since nothing in the DMA blocks new product launches. Close-up of an Apple product launch invitation card on a desk. Smooth transition to a large red stamp, marking it as withheld. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. What the DMA actually prevents is Apple shutting markets to competitors. or unilaterally deciding who gets to innovate. Animated diagram of a locked door blocking smaller companies from entering a marketplace. Smooth transition to the door, slowly opening with light streaming through. Cinematic textile. The Commission argues Apple cannot choose, on behalf of European citizens, which artificial intelligence tools they're permitted to use. Wide shot of a diverse crowd of people, each holding different smartphones. Smooth transition to a single dominant hand, trying to control all devices, cinematic lighting, documentary style. This is exactly what interoperability rules aim to prevent, since real competition drives genuine innovation and meaningful consumer choice. Animated network diagram, showing multiple competing app icons growing and connecting. Smooth transition to a user happily selecting between several options. Cinematic textile. Detailed. Behind the scenes, real discussions occurred, but Apple could not propose an approach meeting the EU's privacy standards. Interior shot of a long negotiation table with documents scattered. Smooth transition to a clock ticking down on the wall behind negotiators. Cinematic tense. Lighting, documentary style. Instead of continuing negotiations, Apple requested a blanket exemption from interoperability obligations, reportedly wanting it for 18 months. Close up of a formal exemption request letter with Apple letterhead. Smooth transition to a calendar marking 18 months crossed out in red. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. Brussels rejected this immediately, since granting such an exemption would leave no AI assistant a fair chance besides Siri. Slow zoom on an official stamp marking a document, as rejected. Smooth transition to the Siri icon standing alone, surrounded by empty space. Cinematic, dramatic lighting, documentary style. As the spokesperson bluntly stated, European Union law simply is not something open for negotiation under any circumstances. Extreme close-up of the spokesperson's firm expression at the podium. Smooth transition to an EU flag, waving slowly against a clear sky. Cinematic lighting, highly detailed documentary style. So what is really happening here? The Commission worries Apple wants total iOS control to entrench Siri AI permanently. Animated diagram, showing the Siri icon expanding to cover the entire iOS interface. Smooth transition to smaller AI icons being pushed outside the frame. Cinematic textile. Apple's counterargument insists that opening this level of access to other AI systems would create serious safety risks. Close-up of multiple unfamiliar AI app icons surrounding a vulnerable-looking smartphone. Smooth transition to a warning shield, slightly cracking. Cinematic tense. Lighting, documentary style. This isn't a clear case of one side being obviously right, and the other clearly wrong here. Split screen, showing the Apple logo and the European Union flag facing each other. Smooth transition merging into a single neutral gray background. Cinematic balanced lighting, documentary style. Apple has long resisted loosening its grip on iOS, often using privacy and security as a convenient excuse. Close-up of a locked iOS settings menu on a phone screen. Smooth transition to a hand reaching toward the lock icon hesitantly. Cinematic lighting, highly detailed documentary style. Yet if AI assistants truly gain this level of access, those security concerns become genuinely important, not just rhetoric. Macro shot of a glowing AI assistant icon hovering over personal data folders. Smooth transition to a protective shield materializing around the folders. Cinematic tech lighting. Detailed. A parallel battle involves Google, arguably the biggest gatekeeper of all when it comes to search engines. Wide aerial shot of the Google headquarters campus. Smooth transition, zooming into a search bar interface, glowing on a giant screen. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. The Commission requires Google to share certain search data with rival engines, since this access is fundamental to competition. Animated diagram of a large search database splitting into smaller streams flowing toward competitor logos. Smooth transition to a balanced scale icon. Cinematic textile. Sharing this data gives smaller search engines a genuine chance to compete, which is the entire point of DMA. Wide shot of a small search engine startup office, with a growing user graph on screen. Smooth transition to the graph line, rising steadily upward. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. Consultation is currently underway regarding how Google should properly anonymize search data before sharing it externally. Close-up of a data stream being processed through a filter visualization, removing identifying details. Smooth transition to anonymized data packets floating outward. Cinematic tech lighting, detailed. Not everyone trusts this anonymization process, will actually work as intended once fully implemented across the board. Close up of a security researcher, reviewing data charts on multiple monitors, smooth transition to a red flag warning appearing on screen, cinematic moody lighting, documentary style. Security researcher Lukas Olejenik argues individual search queries could still be exposed despite anonymization promises being made. Macro shot of a magnifying glass hovering over supposedly anonymized data, revealing hidden patterns. Smooth transition to an identity silhouette becoming visible, cinematic tense, lighting, detailed. He warns unfamiliar companies, with little accountability, might access EU users' search queries without their knowledge or consent. Wide shot of an unknown server room with blinking lights, smooth transition to data flowing toward an unmarked unfamiliar company logo on the wall. Cinematic eerie lighting, documentary style. Olejenik describes current proposed safeguards as falling well short of what is genuinely needed to protect privacy properly. Close-up of a safety checklist document with several items left unchecked, smooth transition to a red warning icon pulsing over the document. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. Complying with the DMA is rarely simple, and these ongoing debates remain genuinely worth having for everyone involved. Wide shot of a busy newsroom with multiple screens discussing tech regulation. Smooth transition to a single thoughtful viewer watching the news at home. Cinematic lighting, documentary style. Big Tech offers tightly integrated services, bringing real convenience and strong security claims that users genuinely appreciate daily. Close-up of hands using smoothly integrated smartphone apps in sequence. Smooth transition to a satisfied user smiling while using the device. Cinematic warm lighting, documentary style. But this same integration also makes it harder for new competitors to emerge and challenge established giants. Wide shot of a small startup team working late in a cramped office. Smooth transition to a massive corporate tower looming outside their window. Cinematic moody lighting, detailed. So the real question worth sitting with is this. When convenience and fairness conflict, which value should win? Slow zoom on an old-fashioned balance scale, one side labeled convenience, and the other fairness, smooth transition to the scale, slowly tipping. Cinematic dramatic lighting, documentary style.